I go back to school on Monday and I don't wanna go back to school. So you did a video talking about Australianisms, and I thought it would only be fitting that I did a video talking about Americanisms. But more than just Americanisms, I thought that I would talk about what it is to be a Hispanic American. I think a common misconception that people who aren't Americans have about Americans is that we're all extremely united, which is entirely false. You have to remember that we're like the United States of America, but really each individual state, but more so the individual segments of this country, are fiercely divided in pretty much everything except language. And you could even argue the case that language is very different, because in places like Texas or California or even Florida, which is where I'm from, half the population speaks Spanish and half the signs in Miami are in Spanish. The United States basically boils down to the Northeast, the South, Texas, clump of middle, and then the West Coast. And then tail end is Florida. Did you know that Florida, south of Orlando, is not considered the South? Everything north of Orlando is considered the South, but everything in Orlando and down is not considered the South. We're just a completely different segment of the United States. Because in the Northeast, it's very like New England, it's very cultured, it's very educated, very liberal. Then you have the South, which is not liberal, it's actually very conservative, very kind of small town values. Then you have a whole bunch of middle, and Texas, which Texas is, the running gag is that the way Americans view Texas is the way the rest of the world views America. Then we have the West Coast, which is kind of relaxed, it's much more sun, and it's just an entirely different culture altogether. I've lived in two segments. I live in Florida, which like I said doesn't really have a qualification, and I've lived in the South, and they're drastically different. My experience when I lived in Georgia, it's disgustingly racist. There's definitely a huge separation between the races, and it's actually kind of terrifying. People are grossly conservative. Florida is considered a swing state, which means that it's about half conservative, half liberal, and depending on where you are, it can be either really, really conservative or very, very liberal in the way that we think. Also, in Florida, it's basically a rich Latin American country. Which brings me to Hispanic Americanisms. Hispanic American is awesome because you're bilingual, and we have an entirely different language, which is Spanglish. Spanglish is when you start talking like this and de repente estás hablando en español and you don't even know how it started happening, pero todo el mundo te entiende because this is South Florida. We also have not nice names for people who speak Spanglish and are of low class. In South Florida we call those chongas or chongos, but it's usually female, so chongas. Chongas are like, oye papi, mira, so I was going to Marilacey's quinceañera and girl, things went down, tú sabes? We don't like chongas. The interesting thing about Hispanic Americans is that there's divisions within that group. There's like Colombians, and then there's Venezuelans, and then there's Cubans, which is the biggest population in South Florida. There's Puerto Ricans, and everyone just sort of like hates each other. We don't hate each other, but there's definitely huge prejudices between like Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans and Colombians, and even in the different dialects of Spanish that we speak, it's very different. That being said, though it sounds like it's like vindictive or anything, it's all kind of in good fun, the whole, country rivalry, and in the end, it's kind of great to be in South Florida because it's literally like traveling to a different place. There's a joke that you need to get a passport just to go to Miami because truly everything's in Spanish, and like 80% of the population is of Latin origin. So I hope that gave you a heads up. I have to talk really, really fast because I only have 15 seconds left in memory before I can go back to Orlando to get my memory card. And oh my god, these videos are almost done and I'm really scared and Christmas break is over and I have to go back to school.